let's talk about just really what blockchain technology can do for countries in Africa. So let's start with Lorien, because you have been a passionate advocate of use of blockchain and Bitcoin technology for a long time. You're living in South Africa now. Tell me, what are the data as well as payment inefficiencies or problems that you believe blockchain technology can best solve for countries in Africa?
Yes, well, when myself and Angus Brown co-founded Centbee, we took the title of the Bitcoin white paper, Cash System, as our raison d'etre, our purpose, because we saw the value in low-cost, financially inclusive payment technology that was accessible and global. And so this is what we've been doing for the last few years now, is trying to make Bitcoin easy to use as a cash system, and specifically not as an investment. And so we've spent a lot of time working with our local regulatory institutions, trying to find a way to create a regulatory-friendly payment system for specifically our successes have been within the youth market, because we find that teenagers and young adults often want to buy things using digital payment methods, but they don't have access to those. And so Centbee really fits in very well by providing a digital cash system, a wallet, and also integrations with value-added services, so that the youth can easily buy things like Uber and Netflix and mobile airtime and data. And we're finding that there's a lot of desire for the youth market to make payments for these digital goods and services, and now they have an option. But of course, it does require doing a lot of groundwork, working with payment providers, with retailers, value-added service providers, and also the ability to acquire Bitcoin has been something that we spent a lot of time on. But we think that this is really a great opportunity for Africa to provide a very, very accessible, very easy to use, and of course a regulatory compliant payment system using mobile phones.
Great. Let's go to you, Mohammed. So you do a lot of work on the ground, spending on the time on the ground in Nigeria as well as other countries in Africa. What are the issues you're hearing about directly from both citizens as well as businesses and governments about the problems they want to solve with blockchain technology?
Interesting, because two major issues they're looking at to solve is around transparency and also security, because a lot of issues are in terms of the supply chain. Let me take one use case about land registry. There's issue of data collection. There's issue of lack of proper records management. There's issue of lack of dissemination of information. So blockchain tends to solve the problem in terms of bringing transparency and also accuracy in terms of whatever they do there.
Yeah, and why have those been historic problems for countries in Africa?
Why? Because issue of data management is a very serious issue in Africa. And also, we've realized so much information has been managed manually. A lot of organizations in Africa, both government and private, are still managing their information manually, using papers and what have you, and lack of synchronized information in terms of optimizing those services. You can find out that projects are being run in different silos, whereby it's highly bring that kind of insecurity. That is why Domineum has managed, blockchain has managed to provide end-to-end visibility in today's supply chain, so that they can be able to track and trace the entire production process with increase in automation and efficiency. For example, the issue of the CTN solution, we provided a highly secured one-stop shop platform which needed shippers and freight forwarders, loaders and carriers to complete an international cargo loads process with ability to make payments the same on the platform. And this has really created a level of information transparency. It has also prevented global tracking which has prohibited items in terms of bringing products into Africa. That has really made sure that this process is a bit more transparent and is accurate. I'm trying to use the use case of Sierra Leone. When we went to Sierra Leone, they were managing their data in the cargo manually. There was only one computer in the port authority, and every data has been manually. So if they take the information, they store it, and they keep it there, and payments were being collected manually. So we said, no, let's see how we can be able to digitize this entire process end to end so that things can be done seamlessly and also information and data can be stored and collection and payments can know that where the governments will know what is coming in and what is going out.
Great, I
So
think.
the same thing we also did in the land registry.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you'd been finished with that example. I think that's a great example, and it's reflective of what we talk a lot about. Bitcoin blockchain technology allows the fusion of data and money. We'll get back to the land registry in a second. Let me turn to Dr. Lephoto. You're the not blockchain or Bitcoin expert on our panel here today. Tell us about the Sesiu Fund and how you got involved with this project for COVID vaccine rollout tracking that uses the BSV blockchain.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, so totally not blockchain, nothing about tech. That's not me at all. So I'm really grateful to be on this panel. Thank you for giving the opportunity. I'm here to speak about the experience of the country called the Little Kingdom of Lesotho. If you could allow me for a couple of seconds to just paint a picture about this little country, because not everybody knows about it. Lesotho is a country that is geographically located right in the middle of South Africa. So Lorien and I are probably speaking. I'm in Johannesburg right now, so you would know about Lesotho, but a lot of people globally don't know about this little country. And I think if I could also bring a little bit of reality into this conference, because everybody has been talking about tech, which is great, but I wanted to remind and to remember that we are all still living in a pandemic, the global pandemic that's called COVID-19. So this is how I got involved with the whole issue of blockchain in Lesotho. What happened is when the pandemic started on our continent, South Africa has always been the hotspot, as most of us know. And Lesotho being geographically in the middle of South Africa, the minute South Africa went into lockdown, Lesotho had no opportunity but to do the same. They followed suit because they had to. And I think the biggest issue was that they were worried about their capability and the capacity they have to deal with this monster of a disease. I mean, the healthcare system in Lesotho is really, really lacking in quite a lot of areas. And the country appreciated that they would not be able to manage a pandemic of the scale that everybody was thinking about last year this time. So I was given the privilege and honor of going into the country and serving in the executive of a team that is called the NACOSEC, which is the National COVID-19 Secretariat. This is a multi-sectoral team that the government of Lesotho decided to put together. Multi-sectoral meaning they brought in professionals from different aspects, from the parastatal, from the public service, and from private sector, to help be the think tank and set up the strategy for responding to this pandemic. And the first thing that we knew when we went in was that we didn't have money, the country doesn't have money, nobody had any funds or budgets for COVID-19. We also knew that the best thing that could happen for a small country like that is to leverage technology, because we understand that technology is probably the best way one can leverage little funds that we have. Fast forward around October, what happened is South Africa opened its borders. And immediately, Basotho, who are people who depend economically and in many sectors on South Africa, they needed to start traveling back into South Africa for work and for other livelihoods. And the problem that immediately arose, which talks to the blockchain issues that you guys as tech people are trying to address, which I think is really great, was that we started seeing fraudulent documents that are presented or that have been presented at the border, because South Africa insisted or insists on COVID-19 certificates. You have to have a COVID-19 negative certificate to travel into the country. Now, we're dealing with a country where the majority of the people depend on South Africa for their livelihoods. We're dealing with a country where the majority of people live on less than $1 a day. A COVID certificate or a COVID test currently costs anywhere between 60 and 110 US dollars. Now tell me how those people who need to cross the border would manage to have those funds, right? So the first thing that started happening is when the borders opened, we started seeing fraudulent certificates being presented at the border, people wanting to come into South Africa. That's one. Then what then happened also was that the vaccines for COVID-19 started being made available, right? The world started telling us the scientists have discovered vaccines that could work. So the next question became, how does a small country like Lesotho get its population vaccinated to get back to work? And that is where the Sesiu fund comes in. Sesiu, just very briefly, is a consortium of the private sector companies in Lesotho. These guys decided to come together, raise funds with the express purpose of buying COVID vaccines for their workers as well as a fraction or a percentage of their clientele. The plan is that with this fund, they will be able to raise or to vaccinate about 500,000 people, 560,000 outcomes, vaccine outcomes. This is a really good story to tell. This is something that I think Lesotho is the only country on the continent so far has done. So I really need to applaud the private sector consortium in Lesotho to have done this. Now, where does VXPass come in? Private sector is all about efficiency. We know this. Early in January, as I was still working in the COVID-19 response for the government, I got a call from a friend of mine from Varsity Days in the US who connected me to Justin, who works for VXPass. Now, Justin says, doctor, I have this technology that's going to help you. And I'm like, okay, I need to tell you one thing right off the bat. The country does not have money, so you're going to have to give me something that's affordable, ideally that is free. So that's why really the conversation started. And then he starts telling me about his technology and how it is really transformative and how it can do better than anything else that we understood or that is available. Now, here I am as a molecular biologist. All I'm understanding is we have a problem. We have a problem of data management. We're going to have a number of different vaccines in the country before long, where you have to know very clearly who has received what dose when, so that the next dose can happen on time, right? So this is a country that operates on a paper ledger. I mean, everything is pretty much on paper. I'll show you right now. This is my COVID-19 vaccine card. So I received my first dose of COVID vaccine, AstraZeneca, end of March. When that happened, right, I got a little card. I need to get my second dose. Here's the question: how do I know when to go? How do I know to get there on time? Now, I'm just a good, I'm not typical of the majority of the population, right? I have access to technology. I have access to information. So I know that I need to get back on a specific time. But imagine the majority of the population doesn't have this kind of information on their fingertips. So for me, the VXPass system presents an amazing opportunity for a country like Lesotho to leapfrog the technology, to get very efficient systems going. It costs a fraction of the price from what I understood. And I'm so grateful that the Sesiu Fund has actually picked this thing up and they are running with it. So that's about the story.
Thank you so much. I'm going to applaud for that. By the way, Justin Pauly, who you mentioned, made his way into Switzerland. He's here in the audience with us in Zurich waving. What a great story, and we wish you a lot of luck in that rollout. Let's go back to Lorien. Lorien, tell us about where Centbee is available across the continent of Africa, and what are the specific types of new products and capabilities you've been rolling out with the app?
Right, so we have two major products that are now live and have customers. The first is our Centbee wallet, which is our cash wallet. And at the moment, we have full integration here in South Africa. So anybody can go and pick up and top up their wallet with Bitcoin at every supermarket and every corner of almost every street in the country. So it's very easy to top up your wallet. And then we've bundled a whole lot of value-added services into the app. So it's very easy today to spend, if you're a teenager, if you're a young adult, to go and get all the things that you need to enable your lifestyle. So we're very excited about that. But also we're extremely excited about our international KYC processes, which are now rolling out, which means that we can now enable these services around the world. We've always thought of ourselves as a global company. We obviously have our roots here in South Africa, and the continent of Africa is something that we are excited about. And also, everything that we do here is transferable, specifically the regulatory guidance that we're involved with right now with our regulators. We are part of the sandbox, the regulatory sandbox here in South Africa, which is comprised of all the financial services, regulatory authorities, tax authorities, financial surveillance, and so on. And we now know that the rest of the continent do look at South Africa. And so we believe that now that our regulatory authorities, our central banks, have been able to see us operate and can see how we're delivering services within the regulatory guidelines, we believe that this is going to be really great for the rest of the continent. But now, of course, our value-added services, which has been specifically South Africa-oriented, we are now going to have our integrations within a global value-added services network, so that anybody in just about every country will be able to download a Centbee wallet, go through the KYC process, because that's important, and then be able to top up their Bitcoin wallet, their Centbee wallet, and to be able to spend as well. So we're really excited about that, and that's coming soon, so please look out for that. But also we have another product, which is not a Bitcoin product, at least on the surface, and this is for people who live here in South Africa, expats who come from other countries and live here, and every month they're sending money home using the existing money transmitter remittance companies, paying exorbitant fees. What we've been able to do with our product Minute Money is use the Bitcoin rail to be able to really provide a very cheap and very convenient mobile money remittance service, which is getting a lot of steam. We're having a great pickup here, and we're feeling confident that this is really going to transform the continent and bring low-value cross-border remittance to a lot of people. So those are the two things that we're focused on right now. Essentially, it's two businesses, but we're quite happy to see both grow and evolve. And also, they're used as case studies and demonstrations to show, specifically to the regulatory authorities, how Bitcoin can be used in a transparent way to eliminate fraud, to be able to facilitate anti-money laundering and the financing of terrorist financing stuff. You know, we've been able to demonstrate that Bitcoin is a really safe technology to provide a lot of value. So those are the things that we're really excited about. We're having an enormous amount of success here in the South African here, and we believe that once we open it up to the world, which is coming, we're going to have the same sort of success and really show the world how Bitcoin was meant to be used as a low-value, low-cost cash system.
Great to hear, especially your focus as a company on regulatory compliance with KYC, AML, and other anti-money laundering and counterterrorism type activities that are necessary to operate in this global financial world. Mohammed, let's go back to you. Tell us what other countries you are targeting, in particular for expansion of some of your products, in particular your cargo tracking product on the blockchain. Where do you see the best opportunities to get that adopted?
Yeah, why? Because it's a very interesting question. Thank you very much, Jimmy. We are positioning ourselves to be the pioneers of this project adaptability in Africa. And currently, we're in touch with 13 countries, likes of Sudan. Even yesterday, we presented with Chad Republic, and also 2 days ago, we presented to Gambian government. We're in conversation with Somalia, with Djibouti, and Sao Tome and Principe and Mauritius. These are all very, very interesting conversation going on in terms of trying to see how they can be able to secure their data, how they can be able to create more revenue pipelines in whatever they're doing. Because Africa has a lot of potentials, but a lot of information are not being managed properly. There's so much segregation of data. There's no lack of proper filing and information, and there are no infrastructures to put those things in place. So Dominion has really positioned itself in terms of going there to sophisticate and also establish that in-country partnership so that we can be able to execute in the biggest economies in Africa. Yes, for example, as I mentioned earlier, with over 80 million landowners in Nigeria, which have lack of proper data in terms of certificate ownership and what have you, and we took it upon ourselves to see how we can be able to activate the largest registration project in African history, whereby providing bespoke solutions in terms of blockchain as a service product and enterprise level to design to help governments and also their products so that we can be able to help government land properties and departments, real estate, so that they can be able to help them have full integration of their database and also massive data sets which all originate from those real estate transactions. You know, the issue of electronic titles, property information, and building models are anchored to this digital framework, which records are being held immutably on the chain.
Dr. Lephoto, let's go back to you very quickly. You have considerable experience working in some other sectors, food and beverage, as I understand, pharmaceutical, and the chemical industries. From what you've learned now of the power of a public ledger, such as the BSV blockchain, do you have any thoughts about how that kind of public ledger could help improve data issues in those other industries you've worked in?
Absolutely, Jimmy. So let's start with the pharma. In terms of my experience with the pharmaceutical sector, for my doctorate back in 2002, I was studying the genetic basis for antibiotic resistance to TB, tuberculosis. And I think yesterday one of the speakers was talking about the use of blockchain technology for dealing with this issue of counterfeit drugs, which is so prevalent, especially in Africa. So I think the numbers that you quoted was that the counterfeit pharmaceutical market globally is about $200 billion US. I mean, that is shocking to me, of which about 20% of those drugs are landing on this continent. When we think about this, based on my doctorate studies, counterfeit drugs are so expensive not only to the user in the immediate term, because that person does not necessarily get cured from using these counterfeit drugs, but to the population in general, right? Because they promote the prevalence of resistant organisms, right? We need technology that can help us root out these things. As I understand it, blockchain is perfect for that. This publicly distributed ledger where we can track these solutions or these products from manufacturer all the way to end user. It is a very important solution for a continent such as this one that relies or that ends up getting so much counterfeit product. That is the first one. So we're talking about really supply chain applications in terms of counterfeit product for pharma. In the food and bev sector, again, we learned yesterday that big companies like Coca-Cola are already in this, are employing or deploying this kind of technology. I have been working in the food and bev sector for the past 15 odd years in different roles. I was trained as a brewer. I used to work for a company that many South Africans remember very well. It used to be called South African Breweries. It is now under the leadership of AB InBev. So again, in the food and bev space, apart from the obvious where you can use or you can deploy blockchain technology for record keeping and to improve efficiency, you can actually even think about it beyond that. The record keeping when it comes to having the detail of the quality aspect or the quality of the product that you put out into the market, that can be so helpful when you need to deal with issues of customer complaints or trade recalls. I mean, these are extremely expensive processes that affect enterprise. So as I learn more and more about blockchain technology, albeit from the perspective of COVID-19 vaccine rollout, but I just bring it into all the other experience that I have had in other sectors. And this thing, honestly, I totally get that it is transformative. And we learned just a session ago about how you apply, blockchain technology to public systems, So it is just a transformative technology. It excites me every day. I look forward to just thinking about or learning new things about its different applications in different sectors. Yesterday we had a news story about how VX is going to actually help us load data from childhood vaccines, right, onto the chain. That is amazing. I mean, as a mother of two boys, currently I carry vaccine cards for each of my children. That data is sitting at different service providers, depending on where each of those children got their childhood vaccine. For me, it's transformative to have that information all sitting in one place that I can access as and when I need it, and I can actually give it to people that I want to give it to when I want to give it to them. So for me, it is really exciting. And see, I'm not a developer. I don't ever expect to be one, but I totally get what blockchain technology is and seeks to do for the continent. And I believe the more conversations can be had with different role players and stakeholders all over the globe, in different aspects where we work and live, the better for the continent in general. And that is why I believe that the guys in the Sesiu consortium really picked it up when they heard when I connected them to the experts. They totally get it. I mean, some of these guys are in the financial sector, right? This is banking, this is insurance. They understand the value of data. They understand the need to have honest ledgers that are immutable. That is for the continent of South Africa, I think it's transformative, and I totally get it and I embrace it. And I think it is up to guys like people like Lorien and Mohammed and all of us in the game right now to really do a lot of work to get more people on board, to get our government leadership on board, to understand what this technology is, for what it is, so that it can be embraced and it can be leveraged for the betterment of our continent.
Thank you so much for that great summary, and we hope you tell everyone you meet about BSV for them to use our blockchain. Mohammed and Lorien, we have to wrap up soon, so I'll ask you just very quickly for a final word. Mohammed, what can the other BSV companies or investors and other businesses out there watching you do to partner with you?
We are very open, and I'm very excited that we are part of the BSV, and also we're trying to move all our products down to BSV, and we're looking for how we can be able to open up Africa, and collaboration is key to this development, and such platforms we're enabling are platforms that will give a foundation for e-government, and Africa needs that, because we saw how the pandemic shut down the whole of the continent, whereby the governments are confused of what step to take, and helping them in terms of managing data and also plugging in connection of payments, processing, data management, logistics, and also different layers to it is very critical. And I'm excited to say that we started talking to the BSB in the Middle East, the Mohammed Salman, to see how we can be able to collaborate and also move on issues, products they have to our continent, and also products that we have, so that we can be able to exchange value. It's more or less like a scratch my back, a scratch your back of a thing. So we're excited to be part of the BSB group, and we're happy to collaborate with every entity that is interested in taking its product to the market in Africa. We are here and available to collaborate. It's all about collaboration. And Africa has a huge opportunity for us. It's an entrepreneur's heaven. Please, let's come and transform Africa.
Got it. And Lorien, because we have to wrap up now for real, I'm going to give you one word to tell the audience about what you think BSV can bring to Africa. One word.
Transparency.
Thank you. So let's thank all of our panelists for this really fascinating conversation about blockchain and the future of Africa. Please give them a round of applause.